How to Create a Glitch Monologues Season 6 Chapter 2. This is How to Create a Glitch in the Matrix Monologues, Season 6 Episode 2. In this episode I'll be discussing a few distinct ideas and drawing them together into a framework to understand how history has changed. First of all, to reintroduce a previously discussed concept called emotional calibration. The system is macrocosmically programmed by trends to recapitulate eras in the past. If you want to understand this concept, please listen to my earlier podcasts on the subject. Now, there are some practical shortcomings of using the emotional memories of the eldest generation as an anchor for the social behavior of the masses in the present. The first drawback is that biologically we are now dying at the age of 80. Whereas, at the beginning of the last century it was probably closer to half that. By consequence of this fact, biologically a parent may be alive and kicking with 4 generations of offspring alive. In the past there was a generational gap, created by the death of the first generation such that they could not oversee 4 generations or more of their descendants. The second major drawback is that worldwide migration has undermined the uniformity of historical experience amongst the older generations. This is to say that what would calibrate one person according to their ancestral memory might have no impact on another. Now, we know that experience is in a way a projection of our impulses, our expectations, our confidence wages, and nothing more. We know that reality is responsive to our entreaties, but we also know that there are now 4 generations of people living that are the biological offspring of a single living generation, which by and large, has not yet ceded control politically. In the past, the generational gap acted to eliminate the continuity created by historical precedent. But now there is no such blind spot in history and the boomers can just keep cycling us through the same eras and trends again and again. In fact, by the time the boomers have passed into history, the millennials will be ready to jump into place, recapitulating the past 40 years or so for another few decades. Now, thinking in terms of expectations and projections, a mother and father may have expectations about what their child will be like, or become. They may even have plans worked out, even if only unconsciously. But they would rarely if ever foresee 4 generations into the future. Thus, the projection of our expectations still carries with it a blind spot, but of a different kind. It is not a blind spot created by missing time. It is a blind spot created by having too much time. But what if the longevity of our era is not the result of some miracle of diet and advanced medicine? What if it is instead the manifestation of a change in the movement of time itself? If you recall, in my last podcast I discussed how time flows at different rates depending upon how narrow the filter is with which we view reality. Now, I am asking for you to accept another proposition. What if science, being the filter of our era, is becoming narrower and narrower with each passing day? What if we live longer not because we are healthier, but because our lives are stretched like an elastic band, going over the same territory in circles each time? What if it's time that changed, not humanity? That's the end of the podcast for today. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe.